Hello, this is Dawn Bevilacqua, the HR trainer at CWI. We're going over preventing workplace violence. So, why do we need this training? Well, first off, it's the law. Also, CWI wants to make sure that we take responsibility to keep our employees and our individuals that we support safe, and we also are very aware that the incidents of workplace violence are increasing. So what is considered a workplace? So I'm going through the definition: any location away from an employee's home, house, permanent or temporary, where an employee performs any work-related duty in the course of his or her employment to CWI. So, as a for instance, you're taking one of our individuals to a store, that would also be considered a workplace. So what is workplace violence? We have 6 bullets here, and it could be even more than that. Well, actually, I lied, there's 5 bullets. But it can include any act of violence against persons or properties, any attempts or threats, and if you notice, it can be whether physical or verbal. Intimidation and harassment, and that also includes stalking. Under this comes bullying, cyberbullying and or sexual harassment, intentional and wrongful physical contact without an employee's consent, and disruptive behavior that would make someone fear for their personal safety at work. So, it does not only have to involve CWI staff. Workplace violence can involve other individuals such as visitors, contractors, and other non-CWI employees. There are different types of harassment. Harassment is defined as verbal and nonverbal actions that are unwelcome, offensive, intimidating, humiliating, or threatening to a person or group of people, which can be sexual or discriminatory in nature. Discriminatory means any behavior that violates protected groups of people. Sexual comes under the term quid pro quo, and that really is a Latin term meaning this for that, and that is offering sexual favors in lieu of getting a raise or a certain position. And hostile environment. Harassment and cyberbullying and social media. This is a huge issue in this day and age. So it can include any of the following, and this is taken very seriously. Postings on Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, any emails, sexting, texting, tagging coworkers, and it makes no difference whether you actually use their names or not, and singling out or calling out coworkers. So what are some causes of workplace violence? We could have folks who are disgruntled, they had been employed in the past. It could be related to things not even in the workplace. Someone is going through a divorce. They have financial or health problems, whether they're physical or psychiatric. Result of crimes due to bigotry or intolerance. We could have somebody who is using retribution for real or perceived violence. And also drug and alcohol abuse also increase the causes of workplace violence. Some examples of potential workplace violence. These are things that you should look for, and if you happen to see any of these, please notify your manager immediately. Increased severe mood swings and unstable emotional responses. Somebody who has an explosive outburst without provocation, and it's totally against possibly how they are normally. Suicidal comments such as, I need to put things in order, or I won't be needing something, giving things away. Empathy with others who committed violent acts. Unsolicited comments about violence, firearms, and violent actions, or they're showing signs of depression or withdrawal. So what can we do to decrease the workplace violence? Well, we're conducting this workplace violence safety training now. We also do screening of all employees. We also maintain security measures with passcodes, locks, etc. And we also have emergency notification and response systems in place. What you can do to decrease the workplace violence: use common sense and remain calm. And although you say that, it's very difficult to do when an incident actually occurs, but really that is your best strategy. Have emergency numbers and a plan handy. They should always be by the phone at any of the sites that you are working at. Make sure that you know 2 exits out of your work site. This is also very important, not only for violence, but also for fires. Recognize and report signs of potential workplace violence. As I said, please report anything like that to your manager, and if you don't feel comfortable, maybe it is your manager, then report that to someone in HR. And foster a respectful workplace. if you do report any of these instances in good faith, there is no retaliation. It's strictly prohibited. If you do feel that you are being retaliated against, again, that is something that goes to your manager or to HR immediately. We're going into bomb threats now. It is becoming more prevalent. It was something that happened very frequently during the 70s, kind of phased out, and now it's come back again. So what do you do? Well, first off, you act very quickly and calmly. And if a bomb threat is called in, we do have an attachment that you'll be receiving from Homeland Security, and it has all of the criteria on there that you need to follow. The other thing you want to remember is to keep the caller on the line and keep the line open. Even if the caller is hung up, maintain that open line. And going forward, make any other calls from another phone. It should not be a phone that is a cell phone or two-way radio. Cell phones or two-way radios may actually set the bomb off. So make sure you try to use a landline. Do not activate the fire alarm. You would think that's counterintuitive, that you really should do that. However, it might be a strategy for someone to get everyone outside of the building in a central location and do more harm there. So you would not activate the fire alarm unless you're instructed to do so. Do not evacuate the building until the police arrive and evaluate the threat, and then they will tell you whether to evacuate or not. And do not ever touch or move a suspicious package. You're going to contact your manager, authorities, and they will take care of that. We're now going into active shooter facts. This again is something that's become very prevalent in our society, so we want our staff to be aware of what to do in any of these situations. Please be aware that an active shooter is a person or persons. They are actively engaged in trying to kill as many people as possible in a confined or populated area with firearms. And now we actually have people who are, using bombs and whatnot. So they do have an unpredictable pattern or method. And typically, these whole instances are over within 10 to 15 minutes, many times before law enforcement can even arrive. So what do you do in an active shooter situation? Well, first you have to decide how can you save your own life. This really is taking care of yourself, which again is counterintuitive to what we're taught, and being empathetic folks, we like to help other people. But you're only going to help others escape if it's possible. Otherwise, it is to get out and scatter. Always be aware of 2 exits, as I said, in case of an emergency. And evacuate, even if others don't agree to follow you, please just get out. You want to disperse. Unlike fire, your goal is not to get into a central location where people can increase that body count with a firearm. You're going to disperse and just go out. The goal here is to decrease the body count. Also, do not attempt to move wounded victims. Do not go back to help anybody. There's instances where people have done that and then the shooter has taken them out as well. So please just get away. If you cannot escape, you're going to hide and lock or blockade the door. And if all else fails and it's just between you and the shooter, you're just going to have to commit to a takedown as only as your last resort. Call 911 when it's safe to do so, and leave your line open on your phone. As far as your phone, you leave it open. Please do not close the phone again or disconnect the phone. If they try to call you back and the bell rings, your phone alarms, you've given away your location. What should you do when the police arrive? This is very important. Again, remain calm and quiet. Never approach the police or make quick movements. When you see the police, you're immediately going to raise your hands and spread your fingers. They have no idea that you are not the active shooter, so you want to make sure that they're aware that you're not. Keep your hands visible at all times. Don't put them in pockets, across your chest, or anything like that. Hands up, fingers spread. And then do not approach the police for help or any directions. If they approach you, that's another matter. But their whole goal is to take out the shooter. It is not to help anybody else until later. As far as any of these situations in dealing with the media, any questions should be forwarded to the Human Resources Department. You should not be making any public comments to the media regarding any issues at CWI. Thank you so much.